against Squirtle. I just said the players' names. I just did that. You have to say them again. You have to do another intro. Pretend like I didn't say that.
To the top right of the map, in the red color, we have our Zerg player for Team MVP. It is...
MVP! Dongnegu!
That was actually pretty good. Yeah, cool. Pretty good.
I think we covered that. Yeah, but this is going to be crazy, guys. This is going to be so awesome. MVP Dongnegu is coming out a little bit earlier than we expected. He is facing to the bottom left, our Protoss player in the blue color. We have...
StarTale! Squirtle!
Yep. Coach Juan and StarTale July said, I choose you, and then threw him out there, and so far he's been successful. You know, the format of GSTL is kind of like the format of a Pokemon battle, if you think about it, because you know, if you KO one of your opponent's Pokemon, then he has to play another one out, but if you KO him, you don't switch. You can switch, you have a choice, so it's a little bit different, but it's actually quite similar, if you think about it.
That is a little bit disturbing, but correct.
The only difference is that in GSTL you can only use 5 Pokemon, you know, Pokemon, quote-unquote, whereas in a Pokemon battle, both players can use 6. And you can reuse, you can switch out before a Pokemon is KO'd, but in the GSTL you cannot do that. Maybe in the future, they pause the game in the middle and be like, it's going bad for me, I have to switch someone else in. They're like, it's like a Zerg player is losing, and he's like, well, if Dongnegu were sitting in here, maybe he could win, and then they just switch.
That would be weird, but, well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that. I'm actually happy with the current format.
I like the format. Yeah. I think it's pretty good.
And, well, we have no surprises here at this point. We have a Nexus first, and that's maybe the only thing that is worth mentioning at this point, a Nexus first. Besides that, obviously, the transition into Forge, and then for our Zerg player, we have Gasless Expand, and let's just face it, on usually what we see on Daybreak, which is a really nice map for Zerg, because you can just kind of safely expand away from your opponent. You have the third base that you can take, you have the fourth, you can get the third base at 4 minutes and 20. You just have to make sure that you get all these scouting informations, because obviously as a Protoss player you have the choice of attacking your opponent 2 bases or trying to get a third. Quite often we see a 2 base all in, and Zerg has to be ready for it. So if you just don't get speed all that fast with your Zerglings, you will have to rely on only a few of them. You will have to get the Overlords into positions, and well, probably Dongnegu throwing down third base fairly soon and starting with Ro4 and Evolution Chamber roughly between the 7th and 8 minute mark to be prepared against everything. You have the Roaches out, and also the option of getting the Swark Rollers against DT plays, against Stargate play, whatever there is.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I noticed that Dongnegu, of course he didn't drone scout, but he's sent a second Overlord forward at first, and he was like, wait a minute, what if he cannons me? So he sent his Overlord back to the spot for that. And now he's actually going to do that same thing with his Overlord at his third base, because he knows his opponent could potentially cannon that. Something that we haven't seen too much recently, but we've talked a lot about. You can cannon that third base, especially when you predict that your opponent will be taking it. And in this case, it's very common to see 4 more drones on the way for Dongnegu, of course, no gases. You know, we'll probably see exactly what you just mentioned very soon start to unfold. Seems to be the story of ZVP on this map.
It's very hard, by the way, to cannon on this particular map because you have so much space behind the mineral patches, and there are a few maps out there where it's kind of easy because if you place the cannons down in the pylons in a perfect position, you can just kind of wall them in so that even if your opponent scouts it and starts to pull some drones to take it down, he's usually not able to completely stop it. So cannons are something that we've seen occasionally, but usually it's not a strategy that we have on Daybreak. There are just a few maps out there where it's easier to pull off. Let's just kind of leave it at that. And that's the third base now for Dongnegu. Nearly done, so it's already over, but we have 3 additional gates for our StarTale player
No
here.
Stargate, no +1.
Yes.
This is really weird.
So he's going for a 4-gate timing here without the +1 attack upgrade, without the Stargate support, and I don't think that he's really going to commit too much to it.
I don't think so.
Seen sometimes it's just a Protoss player trying to get some units into the game, poke, And as
Force
a Zerg,
units.
Exactly. Force the units, make sure that there are not too many drones. And as a Zerg player, Lucky, we had the situation with Lucky, for example. Lucky, in one of his PvZs, he kind of misjudged a little bit how many units there actually were. He was kind of worried, okay, what exactly is this? Am I going to face just a 4-gate attack, him poking a little bit, or is this something that he will commit to? And he built way too many units while the Protoss just expanded behind it. So you suddenly have your safe third base, and this could be something that we are going to see now, as he's already waiting for a lot more transition into the robotics.
I think that's what's really weird to me is that he has 500 gas now and about 500 minerals. And he
can warp in now.
He can warp in units now, but he actually should have +1. There's no reason to not have +1. He actually gains nothing by not getting it. It almost begs the question, did he forget +1? Right now his units would and should have +1.
Just started it.
I think he forgot. I really do.
That would be so weird, actually, if he really forgot the upgrade. This is such a crucial upgrade in the strategy.
I mean, there's no reason for him not to have it, and this battle would go a lot differently. It's still going to go well. He's forced a lot of units, and he may even be able to commit to this. He almost killed the Queen.
But the Roaches will pop out in a few seconds, and here they are, and they can kite these Zealots 6 days to Sunday.
Yeah, they can. The Queen not being targeted here, so it looks like she's going to get away.
And of course, more and more Roaches are being built with these units. With Zealots only, you won't be able to commit too much to it.
The way this build is normally executed, it has +1, but if you go without +1, usually things are a little bit different, and I'm still a little bit surprised by this.
Even with a +1 attack upgrade, I mean, there's so many Roaches already. The timing of Don Ragu is just perfect.
It was really good.
I'm so surprised by StarTale, by his opening here. This is just weird to watch.
It's very weird. It seems shaky. It doesn't seem confident. There's the tech was a little bit at a weird timing where he got his robo. He's trying to chrono boost out Immortals now. But normally when you do this, you force the units as you take a third base, then you set up a wall and you defend against the follow-up, because you try to make your opponent overmake Roaches, then he's like, what do I do with these? I guess I attack, and then the third base is there, but you already set up defense. He could already be having +1 armor on the way as well if he had +1, but now he's just going to have his +1 finish here. He warped in a lot of Zealots that didn't do too much damage, and Don Ragu is just looking so solid at this point.
He can do whatever he wants right now. He has the Roaches out in order to repel attacks. He has 10 of them. He makes sure that he has enough lava so that he can build additional units if there's going to be another push. He has his tech up. He's starting now speed, borrow, +1 attack for his Roaches. He already drones up like crazy with the 3 bases that he has. He's way ahead in economy. 61 against 50 harvesters at this point, and he's still building drones. So this is really not going in Squirrel's favor here. This is really odd, because what exactly does he have? He has a ton of sentries and he has a few Immortals, but even if he is just preparing for another push here, and actually he is with the 3 gates now coming up.
Okay, so yeah,
and
this
the
is exactly.
This is kind of delayed Immortal push that
This is exactly what I thought he would do as a follow-up to this when I saw him make chrono boost those Immortals, because this is basically all he can do now.
Yeah.
He can't take a third. He missed his timing for that. He's actually showing all his sentries away. I don't really like that.
This is exactly the push that we usually see executed on Metropolis, with 3 Immortals. You go with 3 Immortals. At this point, you have 10 sentries, and then you just warp in units with your War Prison. So this push is definitely an all-in here for Squirtle. If he does not kill Don Ragu with this push, or to at least do a ton of damage, then he will be so hard-pressed to fall back into a macro game. But
Don
it's
Ragu is already preparing, man. He is putting 3 spines up. He's getting a Hydralisk Den. His Roach speed and his Burrow have finished. He's got so many more Roaches on the way. There is 1 Observer out on the field, and I believe it just popped out. Yeah, it just popped out, so he's not going to be able to use it right away. It's all going to come down to the micro of Don Ragu. This is still a scary push to deal with. He may want to burrow these Roaches.
Nice. Burrow is so important. He doesn't have an Observer just yet, and he was just delaying him so that the Spine Crawlers would be up.
Yep, indeed, and we're going to see him try to target down some Stalkers here. He gets 1, but at the cost of so many Roaches, and now the Observer is here. I don't like that trade.
No, that trade was not the best. He's not building Hydralisks either.
Yeah, he's now starting them. He's got range on the way, but he's not going to have enough Hydras to make a really big difference. Here comes the push. There are Spines in play, but there's so many Immortals here. It looks like it's not going to really matter. He has to be careful. He actually took a lot of extra hits there on those Spines. He does not have +1 armor yet, but it's almost done.
There's another set of Roaches behind, so he tries to crush him from 2 sides, and he's just buying time here. He's buying a lot of it.
Yeah, he really is. The Roach is now coming in from behind, as you mentioned, but the Immortals are safely in the center of this composition, so he can't really try to snipe them.
Oh, will Dongnagu be able to hold here? StarTale Squirrel, he's going for it with 120 against 155. Now the second set of roaches arrives in time to take down one of the
Oh man, I think Dongnagu is going to die here. He's losing too much. He did stop Warpins temporarily with those roaches from behind, but because they were not fighting, he just got crushed at the front. Even those spines were not enough. I think Dongnagu did not understand what he was really dealing with here when he scouted this push. I think he expected something different because this is a weird timing for this type of build. He did it after kind of a wonky non-+1 4-game pressure, and I think he just kind of misread it, and that may have been part of Squirtle's plan all along.
You're perfectly right about it. This is not the attack that you would expect as a follow-up right away. Usually we have this attack starting from, well, you just prepare on 2 base for this attack. He didn't do it, and kind of Dongnagu misreading the situation, suddenly facing the Immortal push. He tried to prepare for it in time, but in the end now he is on even behind in supply. And these force fields by Squirtle have been so great the entire time. Even with the second set of roaches behind him, he was able to withstand. He just had too many sentries here.
Yep, and the worker count now 49 to 61 in Dongnagu's favor. He just cannot mine efficiently, though. So many overlords were killed during these engagements that he got supply blocked and wasn't able to produce units, even with the macro hatch. Colossi production has started as well here, and the Hydras and Roaches are kind of parting ways here in the middle of the map. He's going to try to attack a third base that actually isn't there. He even knows it's there. It's not there. I don't know what his plan is with this small group of Roaches. What is he gonna do? Try to catch a Colossus out of position or something? I don't even understand this. In fact, he's gonna get away with them. Luckily for him, he can get trapped. But this Roach attack could potentially buy him time to get that third base up again. But he's so behind. I can't imagine Dongnagu coming back in this game in any case. He doesn't have enough gas to make a muted transition, but he's going to make a Spire anyways. He doesn't have... his opponent's better in upgrades than he is. He can't catch up. He only has 1 Evo Chamber. What can he do?
This kind of shows what we mentioned when the game started, and exactly what we said. The Zerg has to get these scouting informations. And after the 4-gate attack, Dongnagu did not expect this push to happen. So he was starting to prepare for it, and he didn't even look too bad, but the army was just too big for Squirtle. And now with doing all this damage while not losing his army, Squirtle is in the position where he can transition into an expansion. He was already building the Robotics Bay when he realized that he was able to take down the third. He started with his tech transition and now has the first Colossi in production. So even though Dongnagu is getting a third and a fourth, as Wolf mentioned, with how the game is unfolded now, and he is behind. He did so well with defending against the 4-gate attack, but still, this follow-up was just so strong.
It was so strong, and I feel like...
Kind of blindsided.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, from watching this game from an outside perspective, I almost feel like Squirtle made a split-second decision to do this. It wasn't even his plan, and for that reason, how could he expect it? It's not even a normal timing for the Warp Prism Immortal push. It's delayed. It's a little bit weird. His opponent had Burrow in time even before it hit. It was just very unusual in every way. I don't like that Dongnagu is this active on the map right now. What he's trying to do is buy time to get that third base up, but he's been lucky time and time again. His opponent is not captured and killed a smaller Roach army right now. Now the battle will commence. There's nowhere else to hide. He's going to try to circumvent this army once again, but those are slow Roaches and Hydras off creep. I say slow Roaches, I just mean they're not on creep, so they're not going to be able to run and do an attack as quickly. And if his opponent turns around here, it's kind of a weird choice because he just has so much time with how long it's going to take those Hydras to walk off creep to the opponent's base. He's actually he's pulled his Hydras away from this army now just because he knows he can't actually bring them. This is such a good fight for Squirtle, though. He's actually just in a great position.
We have now both of... Dongnagu is trying to take, once again, the supply lead here, but he does not have the bank that he usually would have at this point. And now we have already upgrade after upgrade for Squirtle, while Mutalisks are being built in order to be a bit aggressive, and they are just going into the main base, to the third base right now. At least they are ready to. And he has to do some damage here, where StarTale Squirtle is now pushing out and trying to go into the center of the Zerg's player's base.
Oh, he's just going to go for it, man. He's going to get flanked, but he has enough sentries to buy time here. The Mutas are going to actually come home to try to join the battle, but they're so far away, they're not even really going to be useful with this many Stalkers in the mix, and Dongnagu is just being completely taken apart here. Nothing he can do. He can't engage into this huge wall. He does not have the tech just yet. There are no Broodlords, for example, and no Infestors. Nothing that he can hold, and he loses. Dongnagu is out. Defeated
by our StarTale player here, and this was really well done in the end. At first he committed to the 4-gate attack. Usually what you can try to do is, as we already explained, you can just try to poke a little bit, make sure that the Zerg player is not producing too many drones, just slow down his economy. But he completely committed to it. He lost a ton of zealots in this attack.
Then the normal follow-up wasn't there. He didn't take a third base, he didn't attack in a way that someone would expect. And he didn't have +1. Everything was weird for Squirrel, and he was like, what do I do? And he was scratching his head. And I was thinking, maybe he's going to do the Immortal push because he's chronoing those Immortals. And then I think he was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then he just like made a Warp Prism, and he just went for it. So it was something that Squirtle I don't think planned from the beginning, but his opponent couldn't read it for that reason. Ace is doing some sort of celebration here. The screen's too small for me.
Squirtle had the problem that even though he was able to stop the drone production for a while, he lost way too many of his. He lost way too many units in this engagement.
Yeah.
Especially with the Roaches already in position, he didn't take any of them down. He killed one queen and a few Zerglings. That's about it.
I really want to know what that sign said.
He was able to turn around anyway, so Ace is happy once again. He should be careful though. The last time that he went for all these celebrations, they lost.
Yep, that's very true. Well, I don't know who's going to be next. Who will be next for MVP?
This is actually really scary for MVP.
It's the first time they've been, down in this. Well, actually, that's not true. They've been down and then tied, down and then tied. And well, they started up, but you know what I'm saying. Like, this is the first time where now that they're down, they don't have the next move to make. Like, it's like someone who you're playing a chess game. You only have one bishop. Your opponent has two. You're like, well, that's not fair. Well, now what do I do? I can't do that. And
they just lost their best player.
Yeah, they lost Dongregyu.
And he didn't even win a single map. It's not like he was sniped or anything. Squill just took him down. And then the next map is going to be Belcher Beach.
Yep, which means we'll probably have another Zerg.
Yeah.
And if it's not
Monster.
Dongregyu, probably Monster. Exactly. And it's not 100% certain that will be who it is, but I think that it seems pretty clear that's who I would choose if I were going to play against this Protoss again. But Dongregyu is like the final boss. He's the last. He's the star on top of the Christmas tree. He's kind of like the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. He's kind of like the tie on a suit.
Being compared to a cherry?
Maybe. Maybe.
That's usually what you eat first.
He's like when after you put all your computer together that you just bought, you assembled, you plugged in all the things, and you press the power button. That's Dongregyu, okay?
The power button.
He's the power button.
Yeah,
man.
I like that more. The power button is awesome.
Yeah.
But the cherry is usually what you eat first.
Yeah,
At least I do.
In this case, they ate the cherry first, man, and now the rest of the sundae is going to taste a little bit different.
Oh, it indeed will. Now it's time for all the other players in the MVP lineup to step up and show Dongregyu that they can pull it off without him. There are a lot of good players left, but still, this is going to be very intense. And StarTale, we saw it in the winner prediction earlier, is the team. A lot of people expected MVP to win this, but now MVP is suddenly behind.
Monster, it's definitely him.
We have.
Oh, it's actually SC. Like SC and Monster have similar faces. Like I'm wrong, man. That's actually kind of embarrassing. I'm like, that's definitely Monster, and then it's like I see him a little bit closer. And I'm like, no, that's SC. But SC, a choice here on Belcher Beach, really a unique one that I like. I wonder what type of build we'll see from SC. He's not the type to do all-ins in this matchup generally. He loves his macro. His macro is really good. His ability to not queue up too many units is something that happens in macro in StarCraft 2 that didn't really happen in StarCraft 1 is you can just very easily press one hotkey and select all of your production facilities and build units one at a time. So there's a tendency for players to kind of over queue and not have the right amount of production facilities. I feel like SC is one of the best pro gamers at always having the right amount of production, keeping his money low. He's so good at that. That's why he's one of the only programmers who can consistently do this conga line of Marines follow up in TVZ where he just keeps rallying out like 6 barracks worth of reactor Marines, just keeps sending the Marines across the map. He knows exactly how many production facilities he needs. We're going to take a 5-minute break, guys. When we get back, maybe I'll really tell you about the story of the subway. We talked about Team Money cards last time, but maybe we'll have that. But what we will have for sure is SC.
Doa, by the way, apologized for the information, and he blamed it on Torch, who didn't tell him, and he was actually already...
Torch didn't tell me either, man.
He was also a little bit mad with you that you didn't tell him.
Well, listen, man, I thought it was common knowledge.
That's such a lame excuse.
I thought it was common knowledge.
Guys, we'll be back after 5, and then we'll see SC against Squirtle.